What is going on? Happy Monday. Today is a holiday for a lot of people, but for the most part, you're probably going to be in the clinic. You're probably going to be studying anyway. But this is going to be episode number 9, and we're going to be answering a question that hits really close to home for me. It's about being in a solo practice. It's about being the only provider on staff, and the trouble or the obstacles, I should say, that come with being a solo provider. So we're going to get into the question today. This is question number 9 of the daily Q&A videos. Remember, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, you can go ahead and DM me. I'll put my Instagram handle here, or you can DM the PA Board's Instagram. It's still me. I still answer to both. I still run and do both accounts. Or you can go ahead and email me, and that's andrew@physicianassistantboards.com. So let's get into today's question. Now, this question comes from Anna, and she says, "Hi, Andrew. Thank you very much for doing the daily videos. These and previous materials you provided are great and helped me get ready for PANCE, PASS, and now for practice. Thank you so much. I, like you, started right from PA school in a solo practice. I work at a chain urgent care where the staffing model is one provider, one MA, and one front desk person. So I'm always the only provider on site, but of course have my supervising doc on speed dial, as well as other PAs and docs in our company. I have been working here for 6 months and really enjoy it. I am definitely getting better at all the flu, cold, sinus infections, and all indications that I can read and study about. One thing I struggle with is how do I improve my hands-on procedural skills when I have nobody to learn from? What I found is that I lack some hands-on procedural skills or simply don't have enough confidence to try on my own. How can I expand my skill set without having a mentor on site to show me and guide me through that first procedure? I watch procedures from YouTube and other locations extensively, but that can only get you so far. Thank you for any comments and suggestions." So I can 100% relate to Anna. See, when I started practicing, I was oftentimes the only provider on site as well. And this was very scary, especially as a new provider, especially when I was dealing with similar types of patients as Anna, where we were a family practice OBGYN clinic. However, we did take care of uninsured patients, and oftentimes these uninsured patients act like urgent care because these uninsured patients often wait until they can become really, really sick. So yes, sometimes we have to make the decision, start treatment or refer to the ER because we're just not capable of handling what comes through those doors. Now, Anna's in a different setting where it's an urgent care. Hopefully, she's also right next to an emergency department just in case that somebody needs to be referred immediately. So how do we get more experience, right? How do we improve these procedural skills when there's no one there to teach you? Now, something I struggled with personally was casting. For whatever reason, I could not cast. I didn't know how to cast. That was very, very scary for me. And then, once I did my ER rotation, not necessarily my ortho rotation actually, but it was my ER rotation where I actually got a lot of casting in, I was able to feel semi-comfortable doing the casting. However, if you don't use it, you lose it, as they say, right? So once I got into clinical practice, we didn't get as many fractures as I would have liked in order to feel comfortable and competent doing these things. So occasionally we would have somebody that come in that would require a cast. Either they were already diagnosed with a fracture and decided to leave the emergency department because it was too expensive, which happens all the time, or they come in into our clinic, we get an x-ray done there because we have that capability, and we see that this requires a cast. So there are a couple of things you can do. Now, Anna talks about watching YouTube videos, and honestly, I'm putting out a YouTube video right now. There are a lot of great resources like YouTube that actually put out great educational material for free. It doesn't matter if it's free or paid. The problem is watching a video will only get you so far, right? Watching a video will do a couple of things. It'll get you comfortable with the concept, and it'll teach you theoretically everything you need to know. The difficult part is not watching the video and retaining the information. The difficult part is actually putting it into practice. And this is where it becomes a little bit tricky. You have one of two options. You can either just do it and learn or not. when you're the only provider on site, you really don't have that many options. You have really two. Watch the material, watch the videos, read the book, read the lecture, read the article, the study, and then put it into practice, or don't. And this is often very, very difficult. This can be very scary. I can tell you, from personal experience, going back to the casting example, when I was left alone for the first time, it was a Sunday afternoon. Somebody came in, I remember very vividly, and they needed to have a cast placed. The great thing about this is that the MA who was there has been there for many, many years, and she was semi-competent in the casting process. So what did I do? I read, I watched videos, and then once the situation presented itself, I just did it. Now, I'll tell you, it wasn't pretty. The very first time, second time, third time, it wasn't pretty at all. I mean, I got the job done, but it didn't look perfect, right? It wasn't professionally done because I'm not a professional, in a sense. I'm not an orthopedic physician assistant. I'm not an orthopedic clinician, right? So it wasn't pretty, but it got the job done. And what you can often do in situations like this is have them come back, I should say, in the next day or two to take a look at the cast, to make sure that it fits correctly, to make sure that everything's okay, pulses, feeling, sensation, neuro, all that stuff is intact, right? You want to follow up frequently. There are many procedures, though, aside from casting, that I did for the first time on my own. Toenail removal is, for whatever reason, something that comes to mind. But the first time I did it in actual practice, I was on my own. And I just had to remember, and I had to feel confident, and I had to feel comfortable in just doing it. And there are a lot of things I did that I didn't practice before. I put my first cath in the clinic. For whatever reason, it was never something I bothered to do. I felt it was unimportant, but I did it in the clinic for the first time. This person has BPH, and he just had an ultrasound done. He had his an over-enlarged prostate, and for whatever reason, he had to drink a ton of water for the ultrasound, but because of the prostate enlargement, he was unable to actually excrete the urine, so he had post-renal obstruction, so I had to, put a cath in and relieve the urine, and that he instantly felt better. So first time I did that was in clinic by myself. Botox, radius, those are things that I was taught a couple of times, but then immediately I did a lot of those types of derm procedures as well. Laser therapy, sclera. So there are a lot of things that I've done where I didn't necessarily feel ready or comfortable yet, but I had to do on my own anyway. And that's part of medicine. The problem is you're never going to feel comfortable or competent until you actually do it, because reading, watching videos is completely different than actually getting your hands dirty and going in there and doing the procedure. But I promise you this, if you've done the research, if you know what not to do, right, what is safe, and the thing you're doing now, this isn't a blanket statement. I don't want you to play cowboy. I don't want you to think that I was doing things that were dangerous. I know my capabilities and I know my limits, and I know there are certain things that I would never even attempt to do that's beyond my scope. So I don't want you to do things that are dangerous, that if you mess up for whatever reason can cause potential harm to the patient in excess, right? Something that's irreversible, something that you can't fix or control, then we don't want to do any of that, right? For example, somebody would come in. I didn't feel comfortable doing knee injections, right, at the beginning, because it wasn't something I had done before. So I waited until my preceptor came into the clinic. I would come in the days that I was off so I could shadow him. If he had an appointment for a knee injection, guess who would be there? Me. I would be there on my day off to learn. And that's what you need to do, which is another option. If you feel like you don't know how to do these procedures, on one of your days off, ask if you can come in and just shadow another physician assistant, a physician, a nurse practitioner, someone with more experience who's doing these procedures, and you can see how they're doing it, and they can even teach you. You're not going to get paid for this. This is going to be something that you're going to be doing on your own because it's the only way to learn, right? You don't find the time to do things. You don't find the time to learn. You make the time. I recently got an email asking how I answer everyone's emails, how I put out these videos, how I do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, you don't wait for the time to just show up. You have to schedule it and you have to make the time. Priorities are what's important here. Everybody has time. It's simply a matter of what's most important to you in that moment. So go in on your days off. There are lots of free workshops. There are lots of paid workshops that you can attend where they teach you how to do these procedures. Suturing, there are many suturing classes if that's something that you lack and you want to learn more. So there are a lot of resources. But it's really going to be you putting in the time. After a while, after you do things over and over again, you're going to start to feel more comfortable and more confident in yourself. And really, it's getting the confidence in yourself, knowing that you know enough to actually go ahead and just do it. That's the mental barrier. You probably know how to do the basics of everything, of a lot of things, I shouldn't say everything, but you know the basics. It's getting past that mental barrier that you're incapable, or getting past that mental barrier that you don't know how. I was forced many times by my preceptor. I would go up to him as a scared, I felt like a little child, scared little child, saying, I can't do this. I don't know how to do it. And he's like, look, you're not gonna kill anybody. It's not difficult. He'd show me. Now go in there and do it. It's that old school tough love mentality, right? He's an older gentleman, and that's how he learned. You just gotta do it. He studied in Mexico, completely different types of regulations. You just go in and do it, with a couple of exceptions that we've discussed already. So hopefully this helps. It's nothing more than getting the confidence, putting in the work, going in after hours, going in on your days off, shadowing. There's nothing wrong with shadowing as a clinician, as a licensed clinician. You will never know everything. And there's this famous surgeon, I can't remember his name. He's talking about coaches, but I know he's a surgeon, and he was talking about coaches saying, why is it that the best basketball players in the world, like Michael Jordan, can have basketball coaches, but it's unheard of for surgeons to have coaches. I would have killed for somebody to come in and critique my technique. And he's a fully fledged, well-renowned surgeon. His name escapes me. I know he wrote a book as well, so he's a published author, but I can't remember his name at the moment. I'm sure some of you have heard him. But there's nothing wrong with being a licensed clinician, going in after hours, asking for help, asking for feedback, asking for critique, because we can all be better. None of us are ever going to be perfect. And the moment that you feel you are perfect, it is time for you to change careers. It is time for you to move on to different ventures. So I really hope this helps. If you have any questions, if you want any follow-up or clarification, send me an email. I'm more than happy to help you out, Anna. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please send me an email, andrew@physicianassistantboards.com, or you can shoot me a DM on my personal Instagram, which is AND_REID, or the PA Boards Instagram, which is PABOARDS. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a great week. Look forward to chatting with you guys. Talk soon. See you tomorrow.